I'm going to start by introducing our speakers. Shannon, Zara, are you with me today?
Hi there, Jen. Yes, we are.
Amazing. Hi, Zara. Zara is our creative strategist here at Push, and we also have Shannon.
I'm here from my Nokia brick. I'm trying to show myself. I might have to leave that for later, but hopefully you can all hear me. I'm the content creator here at Push, and I'm really excited to talk with everyone today.
We can hear you, Shannon.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, that's great. Let me get started then. So I've already done a quick intro, but just to tell you a bit more of who we are. So I'm Jenica, I'm the product strategy director here at Push. I am focusing on everything creative and TikTok this year because that's front of mind for me. We also have Zara, who is our creative strategist, and she's going to be running you through some amazing, interesting facts and analyzing campaigns from both our own customers as well as customers such as Just Eat, Airbnb, all around. And then we have Shannon, who is our in-house content producer, and is TikTok famous, I might say. So she will be running you through her recommendations and deal breakers of creating a successful content strategy. So just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. We will be answering questions at the end, and we hope to stick to the hour, but we have amazing content to share. So if we run over, please pop your questions in the panel, and we'll promise to get to them if we have time. If not, we'll reach out to you via email and get those questions answered. There will be a recording of today's session, as well as we'll be sharing the deck afterwards. So please don't worry about taking notes around everything. We will be sharing it with you afterwards. And please just enjoy this hour with us and exploring creative strategy. All right, I think it is about time to get started. So I want to start off by looking at the digital marketing landscape and really take this moment to draw this line in the sand. At the start of the year, we all reflect on what's been happening in the past, and we then decide how we want to proceed. And it should be no different when it comes to your digital marketing strategy. So the best way to predict the future is to study the past, right? We always see specific cycles, and we live in a world of seasons. So we have to look back to understand what is going to happen in the future. And with that in mind, I want to review some headwinds and tailwinds from the last 2 years. So firstly, if we actually look at the headwinds, we had COVID-19, increasing platform competition, increasing cost for traffic, privacy, the iOS tracking update, and even more privacy updates coming, a general dip in e-commerce performance, as well as after post-COVID, less control and levers, so the increasing role of automation coming in and making it more difficult for advertisers or businesses to have as much control over their digital marketing campaigns. We have the Russia-Ukraine war, which impacts most businesses due to fuel and energy cost, and that having to be passed on to the consumer when we're already looking, we're in a recession where there's lower purchase intent, and then the general inflation and threat of recession as well. Now looking more towards the positive side of the tailwinds, COVID-19 is listed here as well because depending on where you sat, COVID-19 could have been an accelerator for your business as well. We have new platforms emerging and cheaper traffic platforms as well, or platforms that offer cheaper traffic. Robust tracking and first-party data, we definitely see this shift back to brands and businesses owning their first-party data and putting more emphasis again on email marketing. We have social commerce, so This is where we are influenced by countries like China, where live shopping and social shoppable ads have been a phenomenon there for many years, and it's fast accelerating here as well. We have AI-driven campaigns, so as much as there are less control and levers with AI-driven campaigns, it also drops the barrier to entry for most businesses to get started and set up a campaign. Most of the thinking gets done by the platforms itself and is based on data. We've got emerging markets, so looking beyond just Europe, we have markets in Africa that are emerging, such as Nigeria, Latin America, such as Argentina, Mexico. We have in Asia as well, Middle East. So there are still markets that are growing that we can tap into. And then we've got search on social as well. And this is something really interesting that we've seen grown is the fact that Google is seeing TikTok as their competitors now, where customers are going to TikTok to search and they get responses to the search queries via short videos instead of, let's say, text. We also want to reflect on our own data. So at Push, we have extensive data that we analyze each year. And we have a data warehouse that pulls in all the data from across all our accounts. So just to give you an idea, this is around £30 million in spend last year analysed, specifically on e-commerce accounts. And it's clear that the cost per click increased year on year. Now, that makes traffic a lot more expensive for businesses. And the reality is that the maths just won't add up in the economic situation that we're in. So if we're seeing increasing costs per clicks, so increasing CPCs, which means that businesses are paying more for customers to land on their website, we're seeing decreased conversion rates because customers are buying less, probably due to the fear of economic recession or the threat of it as well, inflation, etc. It just means that there will be a decrease in businesses' ROI and businesses will be less profitable. So we have to take this time to reflect on the last 2 years and think, how can we approach this year differently? Now, the impact of what I've just shown is not felt by businesses equally. We've got businesses that are still on a winning side, and there are ways to still win. So which businesses are winning? Well, we've got businesses who've invested in their brand marketing and who can benefit from customer retention and brand loyalty. We've got businesses who really invest time and effort into their creative strategy across digital platforms, and they benefit from lower CPCs and higher click-through rates, which means they're getting traffic cheaper. And we've got businesses who have a diverse channel mix and they're not over-reliant on paid media marketing. So we are paid media agencies, but we cannot stress enough to businesses to diversify their media spend. Because if you're too reliant on paid media marketing and there's an increase in cost in paid media, then you will suffer. But if you diversify and put your eggs in many different baskets, then you can overcome these obstacles. So get cheaper traffic from organic channels alongside paid as well. And on the other end, we've got businesses who are losing. So brands who are just starting up and they are new to advertising, they've not invested in brand marketing, or they don't see it as a priority. We've got businesses with no creative strategy who suffer from really high cost per clicks and low click-through rates, and businesses who are too reliant on paid media marketing. So what we are seeing is that this significant shift in marketing, and we are experiencing it as an agency, and that's why we've decided strategically to diversify our services as well and place more emphasis on creative and more emphasis on organic channels alongside paid. So quite interesting, we saw this report by Google themselves where they looked into 200 or did a survey of 200 marketers. And 70% of marketers stated that investing in creative differentiation and customized engagement is critical or high priority. So in the next year, this is where most businesses will put their focus, most businesses and marketers. And I just want to explain why we see it as such a significant shift. So let's go through all the things that you used to be able to control as a marketer when you set up your campaigns or your strategy. So you had your campaign types, your placements, your keywords, your audience targeting, your creative assets. So there are many different levers you could control, right? Now, imagine a world where we are in now, where that all becomes one. And you can no longer control placements, keywords, audience targeting. It just becomes an automated campaign. So you can see that there's a massive reliance on the actual platform to get it right for you. And creative assets is still something you can control alongside your campaign type. So in a way, we think most businesses should shift the balance back and look at creative assets as the one aspect that you can control. So if you can control that, put more emphasis on it and give less reliance or less control to the platforms. With that in mind, we can ask ourselves whether we are entering a third era in digital marketing. So we think about the first era, it was heavily reliant on brand marketing. You have the likes of David Ogilvy, who were emerging as agencies who were mainly focused on brand marketing and storytelling. And the storytelling were done by the few. Then we had a shift towards the second era where there was the emergence of Shopify, Google AdWords, Facebook, and it actually made it really simple for a business to set up a shop and sell directly to consumer. With that in mind, creative and brand marketing took a backseat to data, and it was a lot more predictable what to expect from your marketing. Now, we see it as we're entering a third era where the balance between the two, where you have storytelling by the many through channels such as TikTok, and we still have the data. So we need to see that in combination. We're now in an era where we still need to focus on storytelling alongside data. And with that in mind, I'm going to hand over to Zara to take you and to a deep dive into what we call performance creative. Just bear with me 1 second while I change over presenters. Okay, Zara, the floor is yours.
Hi there. So I'm Zara and I am the creative strategist here at Push. So what I'd like to start by doing is explaining a bit more in depth why we're seeing this return to brand marketing and creatives. So the first thing that I really want to touch on is the fact that we live in an increasingly more modern world. And what that means is more things are vying for our attention on a daily basis. So that could be life demands, it could be cooking a dinner, looking after the kids, but it also translates to the digital sphere in the sense that more and more often we're exposed to ads or content that is vying for our attention. And really what we need to do as marketers is look at attention as a resource, a finite resource like oil, for example. Each person only has 24 hours in a day, and how that 24 hours is spent is finite. So as I just mentioned, we are continually bombarded with more and more content and ads. If we look to around 50 years ago, the average person was estimated to have been exposed to around 500 to 1,600 ads per day. Now in 2023, that number is far closer to 10,000 ads per person per day. And what we're seeing as a result of that is ad fatigue. Only a quarter of these ads are ever really relevant to that particular person. So there's a significant amount of overwhelm in regards to this constant bombardment. Additionally, as marketers, we are seeing with the increased competition in the space, that's driving cost per click up, as Jen has just touched on. We're also seeing, as people's attention spans get shorter, how they interact online digitally changes. So with the rise of social media, particularly TikTok, we are seeing a mass movement, a mass shift of people from using traditional search engines like Google over to using social media like TikTok as a search engine. So what are the implications for brands and creative marketing agencies? Well, in my opinion, we are in the next few years going to see a massive drive into the experiential. And what I mean by that is not the physical experiential, I mean the digital experiential. So making sure that any content or ads are mindful of how the recipient feels. Are they of high quality? Are they adding value, education? What is the experience for the person on the receiving end? Because the more and more we are exposed to ads, the more we'll look for content and adverts that can give us something back. Simply put, exposure is not going to be enough. It's going to be about the experience that comes with that exposure. So as Jen touched on a few moments ago, we have less flexibility in how we run campaigns, and there's increased automation, which means that there will be a heavier reliance on creative, as that is the only variable which we can fully assert control over. What's important here, when I say creative, I don't just mean being creative for the sake of being creative. We're looking at real data-driven decision-making, performance creative. And when we do that, when we combine data with creative, we have the opportunity to reduce acquisition costs and more effectively compete for that ever-shrinking audience attention. Essentially, we need to stop thinking of ourselves as marketers, but more as of attention merchants in a sense. And the biggest takeaway from all this is that as the industry grows, as it shifts, we need to shift our approach too. We can't do what we've always done, otherwise we'll get what we've always had. We need to move with the industry, and the direction that that is heading is a heavier reliance on creative. So, performance creatives, what exactly do I mean by that? Essentially, it all comes down to testing your creative rigorously and frequently to assess how the creative aspects are affecting your performance. These need to be metrics that are relevant to the brand and business. We're not just talking about how it looks visually, but what are the conversions, what are the hook rates, do we have thumb stop issues, what's the click-through rate like, how is the CPA performing? Now, I know what you might be thinking. This is nothing new. It absolutely is not. It is a pre-existing process that dates back to even before the age of digital marketing, in my opinion. So this is something that people within the advertising industry have been doing instinctually for hundreds of years. But if we look at it from a historical point of view, it started to really be professionalized as a service and a tactic in maybe like the 1920s. So that's when you started seeing things like the starch test, which involved starch going around and canvassing door to door to put together focus groups where they would evaluate who could recall seeing what ads and what magazines, or even designers physically cutting up and putting together different compositions of ads and trialing them against focus groups to see which would perform better. But what's different today? So as we move into a tech-enabled era, we can do what was traditionally a very manual, time-consuming process digitally. We have tech to help us with that now. So in this day and age, it's really about bridging the gap between our performance teams and our creative teams to make sure that that feedback loop is as streamlined as possible, and that we're getting the right mix of qualitative and quantitative research going into our campaigns and our strategy. So as David Ogilvy said, when I write an advertisement, I don't want you to tell me that you find it creative. I want you to tell me you find it so interesting that you buy the product. That's what it always comes back to. We're not being creative for the sake of being creative. We're being creative to drive metrics. So I know what you might be thinking, but we are testing our creative. Well, let me walk you through what a traditional setup looks like and some of the potential pain points, and then I'll go on to explain why performance creative that we do here at Push is slightly different. So this doesn't speak for every agency, but it speaks for many. So a traditional process tends to be quite linear. So you might start with the client having an idea that they want to test. They've had some creative inspiration. And that's great, but sometimes if there's not an overall strategy there, that can lack a bit of an overall strategic, holistic approach. So what can happen is that client can feed that idea through to whoever is account facing within the business, whoever's client facing, might be an account manager, for example, and they're now put in the position of acting as a middleman. Not always is that person the most equipped to be writing a creative brief. So then you encounter a dilemma when that brief is then passed over to the creative department. Now, creative departments can, in some cases, live in quite an isolated sphere from other departments. That can be because the type of work is not seen as being of the same importance. It can be that the creative is maybe handled in-house by the client. It can be that it's handled by a third party or another agency. So that you often see situations where creative is isolated from the rest of the process. So they then pass on their creative assets to the performance team, whoever is managing the campaigns. And if there's not that level of integration between the creative and performance, if there's not the overlap in long-term goals, that can negatively impact the KPIs. So once those campaigns have been run, they get passed back to the clients, the results, and they won't always be bad, but they certainly won't be as impressive as they could be had this process been handled in a more modern performance creative approach. So what am I talking about? What is this performance creative loop that I keep going on and on about? So it's a loop, it can start anywhere, but for the purpose of this slide, I will start with the context. So this is essentially where the breadcrumbs are laid, where we go back to basics and we establish the benchmarks in terms of like the metrics we maybe want to target with our next campaign. We then move into the ideation stage, which would be handled by a creative strategist, which focuses on the big ideas, the overarching strategy, the clever moments of where you see the creative going for this particular campaign or client. That's then translated into a brief. That brief needs to be tailored to your team. Do they need a more structured brief? Do they need a little bit more of a sweet spot approach where they're given a little bit more freedom? That all depends on your team and how it's set up. But the important thing here is that that brief is written by somebody who speaks the language of the design team, but also values the goals of the performance team. That's then passed on to the creative, whether that's a content creator, UGC creator, or a designer, videographer, for example. Once they've created the deliverables, they'll pass them back to the paid team, the performance team, to launch that campaign and monitor cross-platform and make sure that all the metrics are going in the right direction. Now, this is the really key stage, the retrospective stage. So what this is essentially an opportunity to debrief across the teams. So you've got the paid team and the strategy team. And it gives an opportunity for us to really evaluate our testing. Did our hypothesis match our results, or did we see a surprising result? And it's really an opportunity for honest reflection about what worked well, what perhaps didn't work as well. And then another key stage here is recording. So there's no point in debriefing if you're not keeping a record of the valuable information that you're gathering when you're doing these debriefs. So this is a centralized catalogue of all of our learnings across campaign, across the years, where we can view data holistically to inform future campaigns, future creative. Now, it's important that the team has access to this, from everyone from the paid team to the strategy team to the content creators, so that we can all have a bank of information to rely on to hopefully improve any creative we do moving forward. And then equally as important is you need somebody designated within the agency to making sure that this loop is created is completed. You need someone to manage that flow of communication and make sure that all these touch points are being moved through for the most effective outcome. So let me put my money where my mouth is. Let me show you a few of our own case studies. So this case study is an alarm security service company, and essentially what we've found as an agency is that TikTok can be a very reliable predictor for how content might perform on other channels. This is the case because TikTok has a particularly quick lifestyle. We're looking at 3 to 7 days to get back some meaningful insights. So I'm going to play this video for you here.
That's why you need to get a full monitored network security smart alarm system. It protects your home and valuables, particularly around the Christmas time. That's really important. It gives you immediate Garda on response on verified activations, meaning that you have direct contact to support in emergencies. And it also keeps tabs on your pets and kids when you're not present in the room. So just click below to sign up for your alarm system now.
So that video was run on TikTok, and the metrics that came back were good. But the issue that we found was that our demographic wasn't necessarily on TikTok. They were on platforms more like Meta. Now, on the right here, you see an ad that would have been run on Meta that fits with the more traditional expectations for a Facebook advert. However, between these two ads, the Facebook ad, the CPA, the cost per action, tripled. Now, that does speak to the effect that TikTok traffic is cheaper in general. However, what we then went and did was we added this TikTok video immediately after this static graphic on Meta. And once we did that, we saw our click-through rate go up by 13%. Our cost per action dropped to a quarter of what it had been previously. So we saw really good results from when we moved that TikTok content over to Meta. However, you can see there's a bit of a dip in conversion rate here. I do want to emphasize that that is not a negative thing, because what we did find was that even though the conversion rate slightly dipped, over at the client's end, those conversions were more valuable. So it's not just about attracting an audience, it's about attracting a high quality audience. And it's about not looking at metrics in an isolated format. It's about looking at them in that framework of performance creative. Had we not had that performance creative set up, we would not necessarily know that that dip in conversion was actually a positive thing at the client's end. So on to the next case study. This is a client that we introduced TikTok as a channel for to increase their volume growth and lower their cost per lead. What I'm going to do is play both those videos for you, and you can just keep in your mind which one you think might have performed better on TikTok.
Would you rather work on a job that pays you a lot of money, but you don't really enjoy that much, or a job that you love, but it gets you
a job that I love, even if I don't have a lot of money?
Hate the job, or a job that is you love, but the money is quite bad?
I think job that you love as well.
Okay.
Take the break room quiz so you don't have to choose. Discover how much you should be really earning and where to get a better deal at work. Take the quiz now. How to find out if you need a pay rise. Take the break room quiz and discover if you're paid enough to live on and paid market rates, plus much more. Take the break room quiz now to find out if you're being underpaid.
So we tested our creative relentlessly against each other, and what we found was that this video here on the right performed significantly better. So we saw a 30% increase in click-through rate, 25% increase in conversion rate, and the cost per action fell by a massive 92%. We attribute this largely to a vigorous creative testing framework and refreshing that creative at least bi-weekly so that we can really understand those metrics. And then again, on the bottom left, you can see the overall campaign results, that the lead volume went up by 76% month on month, and we decreased the overall cost per lead by 41%, which just really truly is a testament to how important it is to be testing your creative on TikTok rather than just churning out for the sake of it. So A third case study here is a financial services client, and this is a client that we ran meta campaigns for. So again, I will play the two videos and you can keep in your mind which one you think might have performed better.
Just sign up onto the website for an envelope, then using their free special delivery that's insured, post off your gold and wait for your cash. Click the link below. This is how I ended my day with £2,000 store. Recently, I checked out Cash for Gold Now, a service that lets you exchange your old gold for cash. It only takes a day to reach them with special delivery and insured postage. Then the in-house team check the value of your gold with all of their machinery and offer you a price. Once you accept that, you will get your cash. It's as simple as that. And you'd actually be surprised how much you could get. If you want to get loads of cash as well, sign up using the link and order your envelope now.
So traditionally, that's content that you might expect to see somewhere like TikTok, but we have found as a general rule of thumb that this kind of content performs exceptionally well on Meta, but you should still be testing individual videos to see what performs best on what platform. For this, we tested various different hooks, narrative styles. Did the viewer prefer to be delivered the content as a story time, a vlog, an interview? Did they want a face on screen? And we actually found that the ad on the right performed significantly better than the one on the left on Meta. So we see an increase in conversion rate and a massive reduction in cost per action, which is down by almost 50%. On the bottom left there, you can see a few statistics about how the campaign as a whole performs, but I will leave you to read them instead of reciting out all those numbers to you. So now on to an industry example. So Airbnb during COVID-19 made a very dramatic decision to halve their performance marketing budget. They were able to still generate 95% of the same online traffic as the year previous, which was unexpected and very significant as a finding. So they're rumoured to have reduced their performance budget by around 541 million, and that's specifically looking at online bidding and search and performance. They did reduce their overall budget, but the remaining budget that they had, they weighted heavily towards their brand marketing. So the CEO, Brian Chesky, is quoted as saying is that what they found from this, what it revealed, is that their brand is inherently strong. It's a noun and a verb in pop culture. Now, I know not every brand is a noun and a verb in pop culture. We can't all be Airbnb. We're not all a household name. But the key takeaway from this and the key word is brand. This is a formal recognition from an industry trailblazer that creative, brand, online presence, messaging, strategy, experience, and the emotion is where the focus should be in the coming years. I know you all might have seen some of Airbnb's exceptional creative recently, so that could be attributed to this refocusing on creative. And I'm a big believer that if Airbnb have recognised this shift and are paying heed to it, we should do the same. That is the end of my section, so I'm going to pass you over to Shannon, our content creator. If you just bear with me a few moments while we transfer over.
Hello everyone, I'm coming to you from Gin's screen instead of mine because classic, my laptop does not work. So here I am. I'll just wait for Zara to pass over. Okay. Just to confirm. Have you passed over? While we wait, I will introduce myself. Here we go. It's coming through now. I will be sat drinking this today, a classic Gen Z content creator cup. I've got my name on it just in case anyone else in the office today has a cow print pink pink cup. So if you hear me slurping away, you know exactly what it is. And here we go. So I'm hopefully going to get you guys out of your thinking habits today and think outside the box kind of as a content creator, as I think, and hopefully provide you with some really, really useful creative recommendations. So let's jump into it. Okay. So my first recommendation is making your ads feel organic. So before you get into all that really juicy brainstorming and planning and content creating, it is really important that you understand your industry and understand the consumer. They are, the audience that are going to be receiving the creatives that you're putting out. So put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. So it's so easy, just take off that marketing professionalism mindset that you often have on and become the consumer, because like Zara spoke about earlier, we are exposed to so many ads every single day, so we are kind of the best people to recognize. So I kind of tell people, like when you're watching TV, right, and the ads come on and you're watching it on catch up, you kind of fast forward through the ads to get back to the content that you want to see. So when I talk about this, the TikTok algorithm and the feed page is tailored towards your interests. So when you like a video, the categories kind of change, and that's why we love TikTok. Our algorithm is suited towards what we want to see. However, with paid ads, sometimes we're fed through content that we're not used to seeing, and if it is quite ad heavy and doesn't come across as a TikTok, it's going to stick out in the wrong way. People are not going to engage and get that experience of enjoying the video. You want people to enjoy the TikTok rather than enjoy the ad. And this is where product placement is really, really key in a video. So if you're kind of new to TikTok, you're a new business, you're a new brand, a really easy starting point is entertainment. It's the #1 genre on TikTok. It's got 500 billion uses, and it's a great way to understand the tone of voice for your creatives. So here's a TikTok marketing source. High entertainment ads are rated 15% higher for purchase intent. Now on the left, this is one of my personal analytics from my profile. I like to focus on body positivity, fashion style videos, but for once I kind of ventured into the entertainment category, and these were the results. I'd never done it before. I was very new to it. It was very scary, but 3.3 million views, we got 10,000 saves, and you can see the watch rate of who watched the full video was really, really high. Average watch time 7.5 seconds, but the actual video is 6.38. So people really engage with this, and it's a really good way to show that your organic content can be pushed into paid content, and you have to just kind of take that jump and make that risk. So here is a fantastic example from L'Oreal of that strategic product placement within an ad. So this is a classic morning routine, and when I talk about entertainment, it's not always just about a trending audio or doing a dance. It's engaging with the audience. So morning routines, these engage people, these are entertaining. And she shows the product, and oh, I've jumped ahead, I've gotten too excited. The great thing about this ad is when people create ads, they often focus on the product and then stop the video. But this video goes on for 2 minutes and discusses the rest of the morning, and it makes it feel more relatable and enjoyable. And I got 7.8 million views. And when I was doing my research and I went through the comments, they were all super positive and weren't even discussing how, it was an ad. They were talking about the product, how they enjoyed the content. And that's a really, really, really good sign. Now, my second recommendation is having sort of strategy and structure. How can you plan ahead and how can you balance between pushing out creatives? So here are my 3 kind of top tips from a content creator. So having a content plan helps to structure your organic content and carry it over. So what do I mean by a content planner? So content planners, are basic spreadsheets where you have all your information that's accessible to everyone within that loop that Zara talked about earlier. You can have it as a checklist, and you can mention hashtag strategies, you can mention hook rates, and have a checklist to be able to see what's working organically to turn over to your paid content. And it's a really good way as well to see what's trending at the moment. When I talk about trending, I don't just mean, trending audio. It's really, really important to understand what's trending in the world around us as well. So, for example, at the moment, we're seeing a huge amount of people turn to social media to understand how they can get discounts, how they can have cost of living, how they can find ways to kind of save money. And I found this really useful for some of our service clients, and I was able to kind of push in visuals that discussed how you can make quick cash and fast cash, and that worked really, really well. The next thing is the 60-40 split ratio. So we advise you spend 60% of your budget testing new creatives and 40% testing iterations on existing performing assets. So what do I mean by that? So when we are creative testing, it's so important to push that budget out, keep it stable, but have consistent creatives. And for me, I love that. It means I'm just always making videos, which is my dream. I absolutely love it. But it's really important that, you know, when you're seeing something that's not working well, to not panic and say, oh my God, let's scrap this and let's do 100% new creatives. It's really important that you have that consistency of new creatives, but you're also going into what's existing and actually saying, maybe if we switch the visuals around, maybe if we put the text here and something elsewhere, maybe that can perform. And it's focusing on what's already performing well to optimize that video. And like we discussed earlier, don't be afraid to repurpose your TikTok content. Sometimes your demographic is going to listen and understand your video better on a different channel. But I always recommend the best starting point is going to be TikTok. And here is an example of how I reduced the cost per lead for a client by 60%. So this is what I was on about in terms of talking about the money aspect and having it in the visuals. By understanding that trend, it really, really helped. And then I brought in that element of entertainment, talking about the story time. Again, it's entertaining, it's engaging, and it's reliable. Oh, we need to move on. We need to go. Now, my third recommendation is paying attention to your hook and hold rates. So businesses traditionally pay attention to cost per lead or sale, click-through rates of ads, what revenue, you know, you want to drive money into the business, right? But from a content creator's perspective, it all goes back to that consumer experience. I want people to actually enjoy watching my videos. You know, that's the essential thing you need to get the rest of the metrics, right? So your hook rate is going to be how many people are engaging with the first few seconds of your video. And then the hold rate is how long are you holding people? How long are they engaging with your content? So in order to drive the revenue, you need them to watch your videos in the first place. That's always going to come back, no matter what creative testing you're doing, no matter how much kind of money or campaigns you're running. People need to be engaging with your content to watch it. So analyzing your hook and hold rates will help you optimize the videos to get more clicks and sales and be able to optimize your campaigns. So here's an example of some benchmarks we aim for. We aim for 35 to 40% and a hold rate at 10%. And this is just something that we've picked up and seen through some of our ads and organic content. Now, it is really, really important for me as a content creator when I'm analyzing these metrics to use the right tools. So you've got some great tools out there. You've got SEMrush, you've got Social Sprout, you've got Snaplytics. But here at Push, we have an in-house software called Ad Investor. And as you can see, it's super, super simple. As someone who's managing a lot of clients with a lot of videos, having the right tool is so important to get everything in the right place and to see it really, really clearly. And it really helps balance everything and helps that analytical thinking of how can I improve that 60-40 split. And then my final recommendation is learning from your performance. So let the data drive your decisions. And when I say that, you might think, well, obviously that's stupid, but actually go further than just the metrics. Look at your engagement. It goes back to that consumer experience, and it allows you to amend the existing creatives, and it allows you to pick up on that checklist in that content planner and say, actually, we've not tested this yet. But also, often in businesses and in marketing, people might not like to hear this, but from a content creator's perspective, you know, you have market research. I've done it in the past. You pay to get people's opinions and, you know, surrounded in a group setting with scary people. And really, the place you're going to get authentic and true conversations of how people are engaging with each other with the content is online. So scrap always looking at the metrics, so not scrap it, it is very important, but it is equally as important to actually go offline and look at people's honest, true conversations when they're alone in their room and they're starting these conversations on YouTube, you know, TikTok comments, they're starting these debates. You might actually pick up that there's a problem that they're discussing within the product industry that you can find a solution to and kind of bring in that element of entertainment to your ads. But of course, TikTok also have a number of resources on hand for you to utilize, such as the top ads page, which I'm very pleased to see a lot of our clients often reach, the creative center and the business center. So TikTok has a range of ways that you can also track what kind of ads are working successfully. So here is a brand who I personally think have completely excelled in the last year. in comparison to their 2021 campaign and their 2022 campaign. So if we have a look at this one here, we've got the Euros 2020 campaign of this kind of alpha macho male character against the green screen, discussing, you know, very dramatically and poetically his experience with the Euros and eating food. And it was run as organic and an ad, and, you know, it had success. But if we compare it to their 2022 campaign, which I'm sure a lot of you may all know, and if you don't know, you've got to go and watch it after this. It's the Katy Perry campaign. She sings this amazing jingle. She had over 40,000 uses of the audio of the trend, 2.5 million views, and it goes to show how, you know, going out of your comfort zone and doing something that's entertaining is going to build that brand love and build that purchase intent. So I'll play it because I just have to hear it again. So I'll play it for you guys and hope you can hear it. It just makes me smile. I just love seeing brands doing something a little bit outside the box. Oh gosh, you won't stop. Now, moving on to working with content creators, how can you build that open flow of communication? So I go off 3 things to create a successful working relationship with content creators. So we've got flexibility, reactiveness, and fast feedback. So be prepared to test new ideas. So it's really important, you know, when I work with clients, sometimes they give the creator flexible freedom and then they actually don't like the content when it's handed back to them. So it's finding that fine line and that balance between me as a content creator and other content creators, understanding a brand and a client, being flexible to new ideas. So content is subjective, and your personal dislike of a video might be the blocker to success. So supporting your content creators is really important, and don't be afraid to fail. It's so important that realizing failure is not always a bad thing. You'd rather have one tiny minute failure that leads you to the most successful campaign of all time. It's about learning from your performance, right? So here's some results from brands who don't hold back. So if you haven't seen Ryanair on TikTok yet, then you're missing out because their content is amazing. But here's an example of some of their kind of in-person printed billboard campaigns that are on the underground, and then their TikTok campaigns. So on the right, we just have their bullet points of kind of new things they're bringing in, and just have a think about how much spend and budget went into maybe this campaign of putting up these kind of ads around London and different places in England. And we compare it to their TikTok. So they really cleverly actually taken some of their maybe negative viewpoints and turned it into a joke and used that element of entertainment. And this had millions and millions and millions of views. And if you think of the kind of ads that Ryanair kind of run on TikTok and the budget they put into it compared to the one we're seeing on the right, it definitely brings up a question of where you can find your success. And I definitely think it's in creatives. Now, my next one is reacting fast to trending topics. So TikTok newsroom proves to us that as consumers, the platform's always changing and updating. So it's always really important that you kind of stay on trend, and TikTok gives you these websites and features to be able to keep on top of that. And it's also really important to leave room within these content planners to kind of hop on a trend. Like last year, we saw that corn song trending, and I swear, every time I went on my For You page, it was organic or paid ads, and everyone was involving sweet corn into their businesses. But it worked, and it just goes to show if something jumps up, you need to get on it. And here's a really good example of that. It's providing feedback to ensure you don't miss the opportunities. And this kind of ties into that flexibility and that reactiveness. So I did a little research on the TikTok Creative Center, and I searched the top 100 trends in the last 7 days and looked at the hashtags. So here's what we got yesterday. We got inverted. All the creators are being exposed for using the inverted filter to get their high quality videos. We got flowers, Miley Cyrus, her song just released, and Valentine's Day, which is around the corner, right? All very relevant things. This was within the 7 days. And then what I did is I filtered it, if we have a look, new to top 100, what's come in the last 7 days. So this is the block, and this is how the whole thing realigns. and we've got hashtag The Last of Us, hashtag Finn Wolford, hashtag Nelly, hashtag Monday, and it's a completely different pattern to what we saw here. And it's a really, really good way to kind of show that there are opportunities and it is moving really, really quickly. And to have that fast feedback, you're ensuring that you're leaving room for opportunities, and you're also allowing the time to feed back into that 60-40 balance. And that is where I hand back over. I hope everybody enjoyed listening to me. And yeah, now for some more chats.
Okay, well, Shannon, thank you so much for taking us through all your top tips. Now we are ready to challenge businesses. So if you are stuck around with us and you're up for the challenge, we want to challenge you. We are looking for businesses who want to take part in our Performance Creative Challenge. I hope through what we presented today and everything that we've gone through the insights and also our recommendations, that you are convinced that you should do something different as a business. Now, we understand that it's sometimes very hard to change strategies, and with that in mind, we wanted to lower the entry point for you to test something different this year and to have a go at what we call performance creative. So, what is the challenge? We are offering businesses 6 performance creative, which we will guarantee will beat your current CPA on Meta or TikTok within just 1 month. And we are ready to put our money where our mouth is, because if it does not beat your current CPA, we will give you the next set of creatives completely on us. If you are interested in taking up this challenge and doing something different this year, then all you need to do is email challenge@pushgroup.co.uk to take part in this challenge. If you need a bit more time and you're not convinced just yet, we are also offering businesses a creative audit. This creative audit will help you identify the obstacles that you're currently facing with your creative strategy across channels. Now, we can only offer this to 10 businesses because it is a free audit. If you are interested in taking part and having us look into your strategies across the board, then email creative audit to challenge@pushgroup.co.uk. Unfortunately, as we're limiting it to 10 businesses, it will be first come, first served. Now, thank you so much, everyone, for spending the hour with us. I hope it was insightful and you learned something new, because it is really the line in the sand that we want to draw and preparing businesses for what is to come. So do go out there and do experiment as well with new strategies and with your creative. Have fun as well. Since we've taken on board TikTok as a channel, we are having a lot more fun creating videos internally and just having a go at things, not being scared to fail. And that will close our presentation for today.